Hello, everyone. We are going to do a news to you article today on one of the current events that is going on right now. It is very sad and unfortunate. And it is about some protests that are happening. And I think there can be very peaceful protesting, but sometimes it gets out of hand. So we're going to talk about that and how we live in a place where we have the freedom of speech, so we are able to speak up when something is wrong, but there is a peaceful way to do it, and then there is um, a way to do it that people can get hurt and get in trouble. So we're just going to talk about that today to keep you informed with what's going on. It happened a few days ago. I think it might still be happening. I know in places they still have curfews to keep people safe. For example, in Denver, they have a curfew, which means they have to be home by a certain time and not out and about in the city to keep everyone safe and keep businesses protected. So that is still happening. So this is still relevant, even though this article is from a few days ago. We are going to talk about that. So people continue to protest, and this is in our world news right now. So people across the United States continue to protest. Some people around the world are protesting too. They are protesting after the death of George Floyd, which is a very sad deal. George died after a police officer hurt him. And people are very sad and angry. Now, I want you to keep in mind that one person does not make a whole group of people sad. So just because one police officer, well, there have been multiple police officers that may have done things in the past, but there are a lot of police officers out there who are doing an amazing job protecting us. So this is one of the incidents. We are talking about one incident right here. So just to keep you informed, but we still need to respect our police officers. And I know in Sioux Falls, we have a lot of really wonderful ones. So George Floyd was an African American man, and the police officer is a white man. So people say some police are not fair to African Americans. Many people want everyone to be treated fairly. Everyone should be treated equally. Many people are protesting to tell everyone to be fair. And Sioux Falls had their own protest, and police were involved in it. It was really peaceful and great. People went out and had signs, and they were standing up for what they believed in, and equality, and people being treated equally and fairly and kindly. And there was a speaker there, a couple speakers, and they talked about peace and having just kindness among all people. And this has been something that has been ongoing for many, many years about the how people are treated unfairly or unjustly. So Sioux Falls had these, and they were supported by the police officers, and it was wonderful. And then unfortunately, you might have heard an emergency alert on your phone or your parents' phone or the person that supports you, because after some time, people did start to aggress and harm buildings and break things and kind of become destructive. And that was not the intent of the original protest. The original protest was to, well, let's just read it here. Many people and police want the protest to be peaceful. Some people and police are protesting together. Some people do not want the protests to be peaceful, and that's when we get in trouble. Some people were burning buildings and looting stores. And to loot a store means that they are going into these places and stealing things that the stores have in them without paying for them. And so people are burning buildings, looting stores, and people are protesting in many US cities. The cities include Minneapolis, Minnesota, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, California, New York City, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Louisville, Kentucky, and many more, including Sioux Falls. But we want you to know that you are safe with the people that support you. You don't have to worry about these people protesting and hurting you right now. So I don't want you to worry about this. I just want to talk about this right now so it is addressed and you know what is going on. So some cities have curfews to help people be safe, which is what I was referring to earlier, like in Denver, and then Sioux Falls had a curfew a few days ago as well when things started getting kind of nasty outside. Some cities have curfews to help people be safe. People are not allowed to go outside during curfew. And Mayor Tenhaken sent out a text and told people from 10 p.m. to 7, I believe that was the time you need to stay in your house unless you're going to work. So a lot of people then did go out and they helped. So we always want to try to find something positive in every story. And yes, there were definitely people that made poor decisions, but as Mr. Rogers says, look for the helpers. And there were a lot of wonderful helpers that came out after all this happened and helped clean up. And there's a lot of people that are really banding together and standing up for one another for using their voices to stand up for people who are treated unfairly and unjustly. So I again want to reiterate that just because one person or a few people might do something wrong, it doesn't make the whole population bad or wrong. And in this situation, it would be the police officers. There are still a lot of amazing and wonderful police officers that we can trust that are able to help us, but it's also very important that we bring up civil rights and how it is important for everyone to be treated equally and fairly and not judged by what they look like. So what are people doing to tell everyone to be fair? How are they doing this? Are they protesting, reading, or sleeping? And hopefully you remember that word is protesting. You can protest in a peaceful way, which a lot was happening and started out that way, and then they kind of turned violent. But protests can be very peaceful. What do some cities have to help people be safe? Do they have football games, parties, or curfews? And if you remember that word curfew, that means that you are supposed to be home by a certain time. Your parents might give you a curfew at times, like, okay, sure, you can go out with your friends, but you need to be back by this time. That is a curfew. Where are people protesting? Are they protesting in cities, in oceans, or on the moon? And the answer is in cities. Remember, they gave us a list of all those cities, including Minneapolis and Los Angeles and New York and Louisville. And they didn't include Sioux Falls, but Sioux Falls is another location. So we're going to choose cities. And I hope that this is not the first time you have heard about the situation going on, but if it is, I'm glad that I could offer some of this information. And remember to always look for the helpers. It is a very sad situation that someone was hurt and died on account of another person, another human. And I think a lot of people want to try to find good in this situation, and that would be that we are raising awareness about how much more people need to be treated fairly and not judged by what they look like or what they believe or who they stand for, as long as they are not hurting another person. So we want everyone to advocate for themselves just as we want you to advocate for yourself. And in this situation, George Floyd can no longer advocate for himself. So we um, are responsible to bring that awareness up. And often people are doing that by protesting and saying, hey, this is wrong. This happened. It was terrible. We cannot let this happen again. Changes need to be made. So hopefully the next time we talk about this situation with George Floyd and his unfortunate death and him being hurt, then we will be able to have some good news to share about changes being made and people being treated more fairly. Okay, I will see you guys in our next lesson.